Hello and thank you for tuning into this video. Today we're talking about evictions. We're going to kick it off with what are evictions and then cover 5 reasons why a landlord would evict a tenant. So without further ado, let's go. Hello, my name is Jaleesa and I'm the Cash Flow Apprentice. I'm also the founder of Evict 3000 LLC right here in Atlanta, and we work with homeowners, investors, and entrepreneurs alike in creating cash flow solutions for real estate challenges. So whether you have a house you need a licensed professional to help you buy or sell, you're searching for investment profits and investment properties, or you're looking for strategies and solutions in making real estate work for you, Evict 3000 can equip you with the resources you need to get going. So let's go ahead and jump into today's video and start with what is an eviction. An eviction is simply the process of removing a tenant from a rental property. Now, there's 5 solid reasons why a landlord would evict a tenant. Number 1 is that the tenant stopped paying rent, okay? There's an agreement in your lease where you outline that for this space, I agreed to pay X. And if X isn't paid, when you say that you're going to pay, the landlord has every right to evict the tenant, okay? Now, there may be some wiggle room that the landlord has created, like late payments, or they give you a grace period, right? But the landlord ultimately has every right to evict a tenant who is no longer paying the rent, thus upholding the lease that is in place. Number 2 is excessive physical damage to the property. I'm not talking about the usual wear and tear from living in a house or a property. I'm talking about holes in the walls, broken windows, glass, holes in the floor, fire, right? All of these things are excessive damages that can be caused to the property that will cause a landlord to say, you know what? It's no longer worth me continuing this relationship with the tenant, thus I need to start the eviction process. Number 3. A landlord has every right to an evicted tenant where the lease is now expired. So, for example, if you have an agreement with a tenant where you're going to rent this space out for 12 months, at the end of that 12 months, the tenant cannot assume, hey, I'm just going to go in a month to month, or hey, I'm just going to stay a couple more months so I figure out my next move. Those doesn't exist, okay? Now, yes, there are some landlords out there that creates this grace period, that creates this opportunity for you to be able to stay an additional period of time or even renew your lease. But once that lease expires, if another agreement isn't in place, you're still there, the landlord has every right to now create an eviction process to be able to remove you from the unit. Number 4. A landlord has every right to remove you from the property if there is illegal activity happening within the unit. The reason being is that that landlord is the owner of the property. And if there's illegal activity going on that the landlord is aware of, they can now be responsible for what's happening. And so to mitigate risk, the landlord has every right to evict the tenant so they can now cut their losses and be able to mitigate the situation that's happening within their unit. And the 5th and last reason that the landlord has every right to evict a tenant would be for a lease violation. Now, when you create a rental situation with a landlord and a tenant, there's a lease form that is created as your obligation for staying there and the obligation for the landlord providing the space. If there is a violation within that lease, you have every right to be able to evict a tenant, okay? Because you set out certain rules, certain obligations, certain duties that the tenant has to follow living in your property or operating within your property. And if they do not uphold their end of the bargain, the landlord can now cancel that lease and evict the tenant from the space. So I hope this video has been helpful for my landlords out there. If you haven't already, go ahead and like my Facebook page and check out my YouTube channel. Both you can find for Jaleesa Cash Flow Apprentice. You can also head over to my website at evict3000.com for additional resources to help you along your way. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to connecting with you on the next video. Take care.